Hey, what's good, people? This is episode 73. I have the great Rob Espero, and the episode starts right now. Step onto a world where there's no one left but the very best. No MC can test. Yes, y'all. We don't stop. What's up, people?
Wow.
Welcome. This is episode 72 of the Option Podcast. And with me today, I have the commentator of commentators, the king of swing, the master of disaster, Rob Espero. What's good, babe?
Holla back at you. I love the Blondies reference, but like no one who was born after 1978 is going to know what that song was.
No, they only know the remake. The Boogie Down Productions did a remake in 99, and I guess from 99 they probably still not gonna know. 79, 89, 99, that's 20 years later, right? Still a bunch of kids. So welcome.
Wait,
dude.
I got a comment though, because
Please.
you said episode 73 and 72, which is ironic. I just recorded my episode 73 last night with Athletes Unlimited athlete, former USA women's national team middle blocker, Paige Tapp, also University of Minnesota All-American. So 73 or 72. I like where we're at in the podcast sphere.
Dude, me too, man. That's perfect because that means you and neck, man. You know, I kind of slowed up doing the sports debate thing with Rob McLean, but when your escapism becomes your career, you need something else to like veer away from. So I thought that was highly appropriate. You know, Rob took a year away from volleyball mentally and physically. So, and he loves him some football, loves him some mixed martial arts, for sure loves him some beach volleyball. You know what I'm saying? Former indoor player at Long Beach City College, played with Chris Johnson. So he's, you know, Austin went to Irvine. You're my indoor guy, and you're an Irvine guy, so you know he's a repeat champ. So,
but you gotta give love to Chris Johnson too, the Cal Baptiste 6'11" middle who can also jump. It's just not fair.
Yeah, well, when it comes to Cal Baptiste love, I gotta give it to Seydou first, but Seydou and Shamsu. But Chris Johnson, come on, what's not to love about that guy? Was Seydou before your time?
What's that?
Was Seydou before your time? He was.
No. I saw him play. I also got another old CBU name for you, Shamsu Awudu.
Shamsu, that's his cousin.
Yep. Well, funny enough, I ran into him over here by me at the Seekerson Performing Arts Center. Him, his wife, and his beautiful daughter. And he comes up and he goes, "I know you from somewhere."
Of course he does.
He goes, "UC Irvine. You were the announcer." And I'm like,
dude,
Shamsu Awudu.
Yes. In fact, I'm gonna look up that video we all want to talk about. There's a video. You know the video. It's a jump serve. It's an overpass, and he hits the overpass out of D zone.
Oh,
yeah. In fact, since we doing a video version for my people for the audio. Sorry, too bad, tough shit. But actually, yeah, let's do that, dude.
Just don't watch it while you're driving. That's all I ask.
Let's do this. Here it is. This is our boy Shamsu.
Oh boy.
Boom.
Look at that celebration.
That was just sick. Dude, that was just sick. Dude, I'm taking my own show. I'm a boss right now. But I asked Seydou, because Seydou had that on his Facebook wall for a long time. I was like, tell the truth. Mm-hmm. Tell the truth, Seydou. He's like, okay, that was Shamsu, that wasn't me. Because if you look at the way they play, their form is the same on the jump serve and on the swing. The elbow back and the elbow forward is identical. The way they walk, like the one arm swing, the right arm, the way they swing the right arm back and forth, they're near identical, except Shamsu is like 3-4 inches taller. So, but Seydou, 3-peat champion, NAIA, you know, along with Shamsu. So Shamsu came to New York. I got to play fours with him and Seydou. So Seydou hitting left, Shamsu playing right. You know, my man Kyle.
So what did you have to do?
I'm a setter.
With those two.
Yeah. Just throw it up, dude. That's
high ball offense.
Yeah. Well, Shamsu just wanted it low. He just wanted it low and fast. Right side. He loves that red set where he don't have to think. He just kind of right, just boom, boom, boom. So
right.
How about speaking of numbers? My favorite president is Barack Obama, 44th president.
Yep.
First black president. So my first Olympic gold medalist was episode 44, Dane Blanton.
Yep.
First black Olympic gold medalist for actually
Beach
first
gold
American
medalist.
for both, actually,
Yeah.
for both beach or indoor. First African American for both. They ain't got no black guys on that national team, dude. So, which is criminal. But go ahead.
Dane is such an incredible personality in the game, and I had the honor in November of 2019 to be the MC host of the AVP First Wall of Champions induction ceremony, and they awarded it to Dane Blanton and Jenny Johnson Jordan, Triple J.
Good.
But funny story there. Growing up in Orange County, I'm only a few years older than Dane Blanton, and we used to play down at Laguna Main Beach. And this little 8th grader would smoke all of my teammates in doubles and myself on that main court beach, and it was Dane Blanton.
He's a
gifted, talented outside hitter indoors for the Laguna Beach at the time was the Artist, which are now the Breakers, and then had a great career at Pepperdine.
He is one of the two people that have the trifecta, right? He's an Olympic gold medalist. He's an NCAA champion. He won in 1992.
Yep.
Pepperdine won, and he's an AVP champ.
That's right.
Only so far, only Karch. Right?
Karch, yeah, because he's NCAA champion. He's got the Olympic medals.
He's
got
three-time
medals.
NCAA champion, right? He
Yeah.
won 3 of his 4 years. Got a friend that played with him, Rick Amon from Puerto Rico, and played middle. Thankless job back then because I was just the outside hitter. That was just the 6'2" and the setter setting each other. So I think it was him and St. John. So, but come on, man, they got that chip. So right, can't be mad at that.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, I liked him. Love him very much. I love the lineup of guests that you have on your podcast. Tell everybody what your podcast is called again, because again, I got, as you know, I don't just have, this is not just a volleyball podcast anymore. This has got legs and arms of its own. I got theater performers. So let's educate our audience a little bit.
Well, like your podcast, mine has kind of taken its own life. It's called the Viral Volley Podcast. I do it most weeks, and the reason why I say most weeks is because the way it started out was, so my dear friends over at the Net Live, that's Kevin Barnett, DJ Roche or Jeremy Roche, and actually the original vision of Reed Purdy, Geeter or Chris Geeter McGee.
Geeter's awesome.
They started that podcast, and they had College Volleyball Weekly going on, and I was one of the contributors for indoor men's volleyball, which I did. It was a great time, and in November of 2019, we knew that they're going to be retiring the show because they're moving on to other bigger things. And I received a call from volleyballmag.com saying, well, would you be interested in maintaining College Volleyball Weekly as part of the, what we were doing for Volleyball Mag? Like, of course, I definitely want the men's game to still stay in the forefront of, all the people that are volleyball fans, because there's not a whole bunch of coverage, if we're honest, on the men's side of things. So I'm very passionate about indoor men's. And from that, I developed relationships that have gone on to play internationally and for the national teams. So, but we got started going in late 2019. First episodes were with Dan Frand of Lewis University and Jay Hossack, who's always been a mainstay. We go way back to his banana slug days from UC Santa Cruz.
Man.
When he was an assistant at UC Irvine Women's. So we developed a great relationship because he also surfs. So that's where we connected. And then this thing called COVID happened. We started hearing about it in late November. It picked up steam through December. And we're like, oh, that's staying in China. And obviously, you know what happened in March, early March. By March 16th, every single major sport had been shut down.
Yeah.
So with that, I was still doing the show, College Volleyball Weekly for Volleyball Mag, but I realized, the livelihood, a lot of the athletes and just the publicity depended upon them playing. So I was thinking about what are the best ways that I can be of service to the game, to these athletes who make their living playing professional volleyball or rely on this coverage. Hence came the Viral Volley Podcast. And I need to say that the name came up I wasn't trying to capitalize on the pandemic at all. I already had that name. You can look back at the records back in the summer of 2019.
You don't need to explain shit.
It's like,
that was you.
Yeah. But I was really balancing, like, do I call it the Vital Volleyball Podcast or the Viral Volleyball Podcast? So I have both names, but it just made sense. I wanted to go viral because I want these athletes to continue to stay in that spotlight. I want it to be about them. I never wanted it to be about me, because I've been so blessed and entertained by the efforts that all these athletes put out on the court, and come to discover they have these incredible personalities that I just want people to see and know, even though they don't get to be up close with them, that they can see this other side of them on the court and off the court. So originally I was sticking more towards the collegiate athletes. And, I love the guys over at the Sandcast podcast. I try not to go into the beach game, but I can't help, because some of the people that are graduating from collegiate beach are now professionals. So like Sarah Sponsel, Sara Hughes, Kelly Clays, it's Zanamuno.
Yeah, I saw Sara Hughes. I saw the episode with Hughes. I thought it was pretty cool. She's pretty outgoing or whatever. And I like what you do with athletes, like the ones that are extroverted. You just kind of sit back and you let them be themselves. They're very comfortable talking to you. So it's one of them things where the episodes like that, the podcast take care of itself. There's some people that are introverted, not completely introverted, but introverted when it comes to people they don't know. And you're really, really good. I think you're really, really good with like people who they deep down in their heart of hearts, they want to say this. They want to say that. They have something to say. They want to say that. And it's awkward. And, they're worried. Sometimes they're worried about, how some people are going to think about it. Because in this generation, one compliment to another, one person is a slap in the face to the other. So, because that's how certain people think. But they don't feel like that way on your podcast. And I like your podcast. And I think that's where you have a leg up on the Sandcast. I think the Sandcast, look, podcasts are about interesting people, right? Which is why I'm more than just a volleyball personality. That's why you see me. I have infectious disease people, because I worked at a medical practice. You see me have theater performers and actors because my BFA is in acting, and I've done on and off Broadway shows. Right? You'll see indoor East Coast scene, because I turned 3 programs that were just hemorrhaging, non-existent, to like Final Four and contenders. So the thing I like about you, and I think that separates you from Sandcast, that separates you from who's my guy, Wex, who's our boy, who's like our freaking that's my
inside the game
fucking dude, Wex, inside the game. With respect to them, the thing that separates you and them is your ability to get people that want to say something outside of the subject matter. That you steer into, and how you guys choose to steer in and out. I don't even think you try. They just think that's something you do, and they're comfortable with you. So mad props to you. So, and I'm gonna say that
you have the same ability though, because I look at, how you and I met and how we naturally got along. I see that same ability for you to get along with people, because it's about relationships, and you are a relational kind of guy.
You're my very best friend, man.
I can totally I connected with you immediately as soon as I had a few words of conversation. Like, oh, this is a cool guy.
Yep. Yeah, people are like, so Rob, are you Jason's best friend? Because Jason said you're his best friend. You're like, no, but he can feel that way if he wants.
You're my best bro on the beach, man. When I see you there, I love seeing you. I mean, it's such a great energy that you have for the game, and I think that's why I'm attracted to what you do for New York Varsity Sports. Like I discovered you on accident. I didn't even put it together that was you, but I was watching your stuff long before I met you. And I didn't know that was you.
Yeah. I watch a little bit of your stuff because you've been closely associated with UC Irvine for a while. And I know you've done some commentating and this and that. And at that time, I was still with the East Coast. I left the college scene for a little bit because I wanted to put my degree to good work and do some Broadway stuff, but I still stayed in the volleyball loop. I still did like high school stuff week to week for PSAL. I still went to the important like D3 games, like if Springfield played New Paltz, Tony Benea's son, Tony Jr. was on that team back then. Yeah, I was at that game. If Nazareth played, I was there. Baruch, who me and Justin Stack helped turn into, from 7th in CUNY, the worst division in the NCAA, to like a Final Four or whatever, got 4 professional contracts with their players. So I've always stayed in the loop. So I've always knew who you were, but just like the face to go with the voice.
Yeah.
Wait, he sounds familiar.
Well, hey, big news in your area of your roots today. Did you see the big press release?
No. No, I've been practicing. No, I've been practicing all day. I've been doing
Fairleigh
privates.
Dixon has a men's Division I volleyball program.
Yes.
They announced it today.
There is so much local talent in New Jersey. In that,
John Speraw
from
and the
there
First
all the way
Point
to
Foundation, they did some fundraising and they announced that today, a formal announcement.
Oh, good. Speraw did something. Good for him, man. Yeah. Well, he does a lot, but I mean, you know what I'm talking about. I'm like, man, I watch Iran come back 2-0. I'm like, man, do something. You know, I watch him in the 2016 Olympics and we watch him leave Aaron Russell. And I'm like, coach, man, do something. You know, listen, I'm going to let you off the hook. Okay. Cause so people can still be your friend, but I gotta, you know, I have a rule. I attack volleyball people with volleyball. I will only apologize to people if I insult them outside of the scope of volleyball. Okay? If someone played like garbage, you played like garbage. Sorry, you played like garbage. We would have had a gold medal if it wasn't for Russell. And Reed Pretty, who's 5-1 the last 6 times we played Italy, should have had Reed Pretty in that game. Sing that, give him his swan song. Worst case scenario, you wind up with the bronze anyway. Best case scenario, you beat Brazil again in the finals and you know, and I mean, that's just my opinion. I mean, Aaron Russell's a baller, but he ain't a finisher. And until he shows me he's not a finisher. Sorry. Yeah, I said it. So, no.
Well, I mean, that's been the big discussion is like, what's the roster for the USA men's national team going to look like? You know, because Taylor's back. Matt's back. Yeah. But Jeschke is now back. Aaron Russell. They've got TJ DeFalco in the mix. You know, you still have Garrett Mwangu Tutia.
That dude. Oh my God, Mwangu Tutia. Yes. You know, I wish they got the guy from Long Beach, the lefty setter.
The lefty
Samoan dude. What's his name?
Which one? The lefty?
The repeat. No, he's a repeat champ setter. He hit with his left. Who's the Samoan dude that
Josh
set?
Twininga.
Yes.
He's playing in Poland right now.
Yeah, I knew they weren't going to keep 4 setters, and I knew, you know, and my argument was, and I'm going to stare us back, I swear to God, but I wanted to say this really quick. I knew that they were going to go with the guy from UCLA, who's really
Micah Ma'a.
Yeah, really cool dude, man. I knew they were going to go with him because he's a Speraw guy, but everybody's like, no, it's not because he's Speraw, because he can play 3 different positions. And I'm like, not in the international scene. He could play 3 different positions against Lewis. He could play it against Concordia. Go ahead, put him Oppo. Go ahead, put him Oppo against Poland. See what happens.
Yeah.
See what happens. No, I mean, to me, there's something called a winner's mentality. There's body type. You know, prototypical type, because that's volleyball. Indoor volleyball has evolved into this thing just like football, where they're like, oh, I want my quarterback to not be 5'11". I want him to be 6'3" or 6'4", so he can look over the like 4 inches is gonna make your eyes go from here to here. Get out of here with that, right? So, and think about it. Only 2 Super Bowl champions are over 6'4". How about so? Only 2 Super Bowl champions are over 6'4", but that's a whole nother thing. So to me, I thought Micah brought more to the table. He was more dynamic. He was easy to coach because he was the coach's player at UCLA. But there's something called that it factor. There's a winner's mentality. When the score is 24 up or 14 up, set 5, tensions get high and butt cheeks get tight. Who's going to come up with the play that you have not seen him do in practice or in the game that makes you go, oh my God, I think he just won the game for us. And it's that dude. Say his name again for people listening.
Micah Ma'a.
Nah. Oh, no.
Josh Twininga.
That guy.
Yep.
Badass, dude.
Samoan bro at Long Beach State.
Badass. Yes. Hey, for you, Luapati Ace. Ace. For you listening at home, Luapati is Samoan for clap twice.
Yeah.
Luapati roof. So
that's right. Yeah, he's doing really well out there, and Josh he's such a strong player. Wicked jump serve with that lefty.
Where's DeFalco right now? Was he playing in Europe too?
DeFalco is actually in Italy, and his team Vivo Valencia is kind of upsetting some teams. They are standing right around 3rd, 4th place in the Serie A league. Top teams right now are Piacenza and Lube, but you know, they didn't expect their team to be doing as well as they are. Micah Christensen's team, which is Modena, is right around the 6-7, but it's still, they got to go through playoffs. But TJ DeFalco is playing really well with some great French national team guys that are also on that team. So
coaching's good out there, man.
Looking forward to some good stuff coming these next few weeks because they're matching up with the top two teams there in Italy.
First of all, the Italian league, there's not a bad coach in the Italian league. Even the last place team, they're all top-notch coaches. The French players that he's playing with, I know one of them, but the junior system and the way they're sprouting them up out there, at least for the indoor scene, iron sharpens iron, man. You can't come out of that without a scar that chicks dig. DeFalco, I'm so glad he's playing international ball because he's the West Coast Golden Boy, and they one way or another he's gonna be on that team. All right, even if he got a broken leg, he's gonna hop on the other leg. They want him on that team. But I think, have you noticed there's a correlation between players that played international ball before they go back to the Olympic Games that makes them come back a little bit more savvy? All of a sudden they're getting those touches. All of a sudden they're not a 6'9" blocker getting embarrassed by some short dude. So DeFalco always had it, but you seen him play some international ball in the beginning. You're like, okay, this dude need to go somewhere first.
I'll tell you one thing. What people don't get to see just by the nature of the time differential and the access to the streams. You have to get VPNs and all that stuff. But he's got quite the highlight reel just this season. He's been thumping balls.
Yep.
Out of system balls, in system balls. He's coming down on the bic, and he's definitely got the velocity and pace on everything he's hitting these days.
I like him because, one, you look in that guy's eyes as far as when you talk about volleyball and when he sees volleyball, he's equivalent to like this 13-year-old that just learned the sport, and like he's walking on the beach with his girlfriend and he sees a net, and all of a sudden he lets go of his girlfriend's hand and just starts running, walking faster towards the court, not knowing he left his girl behind, right? He still has that. So you want someone that loves the sport this much to not find a way to not have that enthusiasm work against him, one, and two, you want people to like the sport, especially the U.S. We're USA guys first, want him. I want him to win the gold. I want him to be the tournament MVP, So that's why I'm always hard on my people.
Assessment-wise of him and his personality is so spot on because having the benefit of knowing him personally, he eats up every bit of the game. And it's not just a strategy. He's learning mechanics, technique. He's studying other players. I mean, this guy is a student of the game, and he loves it. Like you just don't see it tapering off anytime soon. So he's watching, learning, getting better. He's getting this international experience. He's naturally gifted. He's got a great instinct. I mean, all great things that are going to make for a great player.
Yep, I totally agree with that. And I think the better he plays and the more he improves, the more that we put Matt Anderson. Is Matt Anderson going to be the opposite? I'm not entirely comfortable with him being an outside hitter for the national team because I think there's an imbalance. I'll give you an example. I believe, and I've been coaching for a long freaking time, not just commentating. Every championship team has a tandem of outside hitters where one is the more explosive hitter and the other is the best ball control guy. Can both of them be explosive hitters? No, but there's a role to be played. Jiba and Dante. Right? Can Jiba explode on people? No, but that's not his role. His role is to be the leader of the court. His role is to be the best passer on the court. And you need him to put a ball to wrist line, embarrass someone who'll do that. Reed Pretty and Riley Salmon, right? Riley Salmon, not undersized. I mean, brings new meaning to the term undersized, but they don't. If you watch indoor like I do, and you don't, you watch it more than I do. There's levels to that too. You will remember that they don't beat Serbia Montenegro without him, some of those hits and some of those power dinks that he let go by the block. He did it twice. And I was like, man, you sure he didn't hit the net on the foul throw? Okay, he's good. So, so then when you have Matt Anderson and Reed Pretty, it's two explosion guys, unless Reed Pretty wants to accept the role on that. You look at Taylor Sander and Pretty. Yeah.
That can work.
Pretty. Yeah, because they're interchangeable as far as their role playing, and as far as giving up control and taking control, they're interchangeable. They're not. They don't have to be the vocal guy. They can be the leader and the follower. So those are interchangeable personalities. Matt Anderson, in order for him to hit outside, Taylor Sander would have to assume the other role, and that's not a match. It's not a match.
Yeah,
They're not going to win.
So, huh?
No, they'll be on the world scene and they'll do some things. But we look with the talent we have and with the time the guys are putting in, with the international experience coming back and forth, all for the goal to win this gold. Anything less than gold is failure. We're not this team should not be happy with the bronze. Neither the men's or women's team should be saying the bronze is a win. A decade ago,
right.
That 2000 team where like we lost every single match. That 2014 where we were short of the bronze, lost to the Russians in straight sets. Bronze would have been ecstasy. Not now.
Yeah. Well, but see, we've got the bar set so high in the USA system that, like you're saying, bronze is not acceptable anymore.
No. And if you're going to walk around with a chip on your, and on a personal note, if you're going to walk around with a chip on your shoulder, you have to win the gold. I'm going to walk around. I'm on the team. I won the bronze. Get the hell out of here with that. Go kick rocks with that. So, no, but if we're going to have a chip on our shoulder, and I'm not going to steer the podcast to uppity people. That's not where I'm going. I swear to God. But if this
is New York, it's all right. It's all right.
Be who you are. You're passionate. Yeah. You love this sport. We're gonna win the gold. We're the best team in the world. All this mindset. You come with that same energy when it's time. When it's time to produce, you come with that same energy when it's time to produce.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
Yep. Well, I was just say it's like you tracking the game like I do. It's like you recognize these situations where those roles have to really play and step into those moments and really take control. So, especially at that level, it's a difference of 2 points. And every little action, every single reaction matters. Every single behavior, movement. It's with rally score, it just made it even more so.
Mm-hmm. You know what the difference between the coaching there and the coaching here is? It's constant pressure.
Yeah.
Constant pressure. Like if you see the Italian team 2016 Olympics, the serve was not with the intention to ace. The serve was just designed to make their life a living hell. The net result was they got aces. Okay, that was the net result. So it's really about just tapping someone on the shoulder until they're annoyed, until they miss. And like you said, these games where points matter particularly at the end. If you're constant pressure in the beginning, the constant pressure is going to get you through in those 2-point games. You know, we both agree. We said this to each other when we were on the beach. I think we said championship teams are not built on blowouts. They're built on 2-point victories.
Yeah. Yep. It's all about the timing when you get those points, right?
Yeah.
Jump on the other team. It's the game of runs.
How many episodes do you do a week?
So my goal is to do it most weeks. But what I've discovered in trying to spread the influence or the exposure of all the different athletes is the different time zones, because I'm jumping between beach, indoor, collegiate to professional to pros playing abroad. So there'll be weeks I'll have nothing. And there'll be weeks like this week where I have 3 of them. So I'll be spreading them out because I interviewed Paige Tapp last night or 2 nights ago. That's actually out on volleyballmag.com. And then the podcast is out as of today. And then I interviewed Abby Van Winkle of UCLA.
Sophomore, right?
She'll be a 2-parter because she had a cancer diagnosis in late 2019. And she opened up about it and talked about going into the 2020 season. So that'll be coming out soon. And then got some other guests coming up as well. So, and they're all international, like talking to Lauren Carlini in Turkey and, Haley Washington in Italy or Taylor Sander in Poland and getting a bunch of guys in all the disciplines just because I have a love for the game and I've been around these people for so long. I get to meet them through VNL or, the AVPs. Like, I want them to do well. I want to support whatever they're doing just because even more so now with no matches being played, I want them to stay in the spotlight. That sponsors will say, hey, we've got a marketable personality here. So if I can keep them just on the podcast and through my YouTube channel there, I will definitely keep them on as long as they're willing to come on the show.
Yeah, man, that's very, very important. And good for you, man. You got that international thing going. The only international, I talked to Mackenzie. He was in Malaysia, but he's chilling right now. He's not playing. Dave Mackenzie.
Yep.
Edward Tokes was trying to get like Plavins to get on my podcast. But I'm actually going to reach out to Tina Gradina.
Yeah. Oh, she's a good interview. She's in LA, so that'll be an easy one. She's
in
training
LA?
because her and Anastasia Kravenchova, her partner, for Latvia, they're playing the Olympics. She's training in LA
cool.
currently through March.
Yeah,
so
she's
that'll be a good interview for you.
Yeah, her godfather.
And Tina is just awesome.
Well, her godfather is my mentor, my volleyball mentor. His name is Aldous Lucis.
Yeah,
he went to UCLA in 1979.
Oh wow,
fourth string setter. He was on the wrestling team and the volleyball team, and that's his goddaughter. So godparents or whatever, or christening or whatever. Go ahead.
Well, I have to share with you, because I got to meet so many of the international players, and I mean it's so exciting. But I finally got to meet Karol Solberg in person in 2016, and just kind of maintain a just open dialogue with her with stuff. And I actually got her to come on the show, but the week that she's supposed to record with me was when she made that political statement at the CB volley tournament down there.
Tell me.
So
listen, this is my podcast, not yours. So you got to educate people. They don't know.
So, they are not in agreement with their president, and they had gotten third place or the bronze medal in one of the major tournaments in Brazil on that circuit, and she grabbed the mic and said, "Get out of here, President Bolsonaro." I forget his name, but it was it created quite the publicity fire, like wildfire in Brazil. So she messaged me and said, "Oh, I'm so sorry, Rob. I need to stay off of social media this week." But I mean, what she's doing is a huge social movement now in Brazil. So, and of course, she's got game. She's got some incredible training videos she's been putting on with what she's doing. But politically, she's pretty active, and it's awesome because she's such a great personality. So, I just like she would even consider coming onto the show. I was totally blessed. And hey, whenever you want to come back on, I will definitely have you on.
She will, right? Because right now you're savaging it, man. You're again, your lineup of guests, like you and Wex right now. I think Wex had like 11 episodes, and 9 of them are Olympic gold medalists. All right, yeah, man. But I think this whole divide and conquer thing, what we're doing is so good for the sport of volleyball. I'm just trying to. For my podcast, I'm just trying to show a different side of volleyball players. Like, for example, like Solberg, like I would want her on the podcast because she said that. you know, I don't want her to not come.
Should.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the guy trust me. I'm the guy she wants to talk to because as far as my objectivity goes politically, you don't know what party I represent. One week, I give a guy credit. The next week, I'm like, dude, you're wrong. I have 100, like 200 posts, 200 comments on a post that I'll talk about politics, and they're friends on the left and the right that are actually having intelligent conversations. And I very rarely had to delete. I only delete someone's comment if
that's so good to hear.
The only I have a rule. If you insult someone's character if you attack the character instead of the argument, that's
right. The
number one commandment, the number one rule of logic. The 10 commandments, number 1 is thou shalt not attack the person's character, but the argument. And through a year and a half, I've only had to delete like 3 comments. And so, because everyone that chooses the post, if your argument is asinine, that's okay. You could use the word stupid. That's a stupid argument. You're not calling them stupid.
Right.
Yeah. You're a smart guy, but do you do stupid things?
Oh, all the time.
There you go. But you do that. You do that 1 or 2 stupid things. Does that make you a stupid person? No. What are we 12?
Well, that's what we need, is especially in today's political and social climate. And there are too many people that are polarizing everything. And I'd rather serve as a bridge builder between the two, because I know people's intentions are to do the right thing, but we need to have dialogue and communication to do that. I'm not going to attack people's personal character. I want to know so I can explore it for myself and then make an educated decision on that. And I love the fact that you do provide that on your show. So as someone who's a host, I mean, it's got to be challenging not to bring your own views into it. Yeah. While maintaining a very impartial view.
What party do I belong to? They don't know. Nobody knows.
Yeah.
Well, let's just put it this way. If I make an argument for the liberals, And if no one's ever met me, oh, he's a bleeding heart liberal. If I'm pro Second Amendment, I'm big on guns. Oh my God, I didn't know Jason's a right wing nut. No, dude, there's nothing wrong with loving your guns and your gay people, okay? Yeah. In fact, I made this really cute joke. I said, in fact, we should arm gay people everywhere. I said, just picture it. I had Evan Corey on the podcast. I said, just picture it. Brandon Clemens, 6-pack abs, hairy chest, holding an AR-15. And he says on the billboard, only you can prevent a hate crime. Right? I mean, come on.
That should be the AVP shirt. Like we makes it through the qualifier.
Yeah, but listen.
Yeah.
I have 2 rules that make people comfortable with talking to me. One, everything that we say off camera is not shared. Right. I am for all because you are media right now. Me, I'm kind of on my own doing what I want to do or whatever. But you can't, if you talk, no one's going to talk to you, right? Exactly. If you betray people's trust, then no one's going to want to talk to you. I've had so many conversations with Casey Jennings amid like the whole Kerry Walsh controversy, right? And
you mean this the one about the comment about the mask thing?
Yeah.
I wondered, because I didn't get to follow that all the way through, but I knew it created quite the uproar.
It did, because for 2 reasons. One, and I'm going to take both sides on this. One, because people believe that taking your mask off in a supermarket is not an incredibly brave thing. It's an incredibly stupid thing, because even though you're okay and you're healthy, you have to. It's the granny behind you that's gonna die, right? It's like, oh, I'm not gonna get struck by lightning. It's like, no, but I might standing next to you. So, way, and on the other hand, the way I thought that it was some of the attack was unfair. She made these 2 incredibly long Instagram posts about staying healthy. It's a pandemic. If you're inside, there are different exercises. There's different foods. So now is the time to pay attention to these things more than others. So she said 4 or 5 things in these 2 elongated Instagram posts. And I thought it was incredibly lazy and unfair for everyone to take this one thing that she said and use it as a straw person argument and say, oh, that's who she is as a collective whole.
Right.
That was not fair. Anyone's ever talked to Carrie, they know she's not selfish. They know she's not caring. But for me, just because I like you doesn't mean I can't criticize you. I don't have a set of rules for people I like.
You like me because I allow you to criticize me.
No, but you should never let your contempt or like for someone affect your critical thinking skills. You should not have a different set of rules for people you like and for people you don't. So it was a Sunday or something, or over the weekend, and Rob and me are on the Sports Debate podcast. And I'm like, do I wait for my podcast? Do I wait for the option to talk about it, or no? This is Sports Debate Tuesday. Rob, he's a last round qualifier guy, multiple time, winner, indoor and outdoor. This is our wheelhouse. Where it'd be volleyball malpractice not to talk about it. So Rob completely took one side. So Rob playing devil's advocate. Rob allowed me to play devil's advocate because he picked a side all the way one way. And it did allow me to tell you what I said in that podcast. Like, yeah, she was wrong about that one thing, but that wasn't the only thing she said,
Right. Yeah.
So Fallon Phenomoana, she came on and she, said how she really felt. And I was very, very glad that she broke her silence on social justice and just racial inequality and this and that, because she identifies with being African-American and not just Samoan. And
it's a turbulent time, and we had so many issues coinciding, and that didn't help either with everything going on. It's been a crazy time, and I think the challenge in all this is somehow maintaining the positive through it all. And that's why I think that you, as a host, I think you do a great job of being a bridge builder. And like, how do you develop your talent in doing that? Like, how do you get that gift to be able to get people to, have that dialogue while not murdering each other? Because it's such a polarizing time.
Is that a question?
That's a question for you.
Oh, all right. Okay. First, that's a very, very good question, and allow me to because I don't have the answer prepared, allow me to explore the answer.
All right.
As a disclaimer, before we even get on camera, or on camera before I even ask the question, I'm like, before I ask you this question, I want to preface my comments by saying this is what I believe. And I want you to talk to me about it. And I don't want them to talk to if they feel like they're talking to me about it and not an audience, then they'll be more inclined to say stuff. Maybe stuff that they regret after the podcast is over. Like, shit, I made some enemies. I'm trying to get some fans and this and that. But their ability for them to get them to look each other in the eye. I give them a psychological hook, and then they're listening. And if they're listening, they're going to answer. Like Fallon came on my podcast. She said, I don't want to talk about this. And eventually, I don't think I honey-dicked her or tricked her into it, but we did. So it's really just about getting someone to feel comfortable to talk to someone who might disagree with them, but not excoriate them for it or vilify them for their opinions. Look, don't you think before me and Rob got on that podcast, when Kerry did that thing, don't you think what's the first thing I did? I text Casey. I'm like, you better talk to me now, or I will go on the air and I'll have my own opinion with no information. Because
you guys had a pretty good dialogue even online, and then I assume that you guys had the conversation offline too.
Absolutely, completely confidential, whatever, and I see where he's coming from. We still don't disagree. We still disagree on the crux of her diatribe. But are me and Casey enemies? No. Is Casey not want to be my friend because he thinks I'm a liberal and I think he's a little nutty on the right side? No, we right. Before we were all of these bullshit things, okay, we were volleyball people.
Yep.
Before we were Democrats and Republicans, we were volleyball people. I don't even look. You want to talk about bridging? Look, the difference between your bridge and mine is my bridge is only 2 lanes. Yours is the fucking Verrazano, and the difference between yours and the Verrazano is people don't have to pay a toll to freaking ride it. All right, me they got to pay a toll to ride 2 lanes. So no, but you do that, and I'll tell you why. Because I don't know your political affiliation. I don't know if you don't know if someone's Democrat or Republican, they're doing something right. That means they're just a person and they're listening. And that's I hope I'm answering your question. I hope I didn't just drive us both off the cliff.
That's the space we have to navigate being hosts, because we don't want to take a side. We want to get the information out there, and to see what it's like off the court. I mean, because they are people. So they too are trying to exist in the same society. They're trying to navigate all the same challenges. They're not like above it all. They're finding their way just like you and I, know, so I've got to respect that. And I take every personal relationship I have, every person I talk to as a learning experience. And I think that you're the same too. I mean, you're a New Yorker. That's what they do.
Yeah. And a lot of the above it alls they won't come on the podcast. They already know it's coming, So, I mean, and that's the unique thing. If you remember when I first moved here, I was doing the beat for Volleyball 1-on-1. I was working for Andor and just taking questions. He only wanted to interview top players. So, I got to text the same person a whole bunch of times until they say yes. And the liberating thing about this podcast is I ask and either you do or you don't. And that's so unique. And the other reason why I branched off is because I knew if I became totally dependent on volleyball players and if they all got together and decide, you know what, we got Rob Espero. Why do I need to be on Jason's thing? I'm not left out in the cold on that either, but
right.
I put myself in this unique liberating position where either you want, I'll ask you, and either you do or you don't. It's not about, what's your analytics? Oh, talk to my agent and all that stuff and this and that. No, either you do or you don't. And luckily for me, it's worked out like a charm. I've done a lot of rule breaking and still survived, right?
Yeah.
I mean, most podcasts shouldn't be an hour and a half, sometimes the problem is the same people that give you advice on how to do a podcast, to do it the way they try to give you advice to do it the way everybody else to do it, for it to be acceptable. And then when you do it that way, you know what they say to you? Oh, you're just like everybody else. What makes you different? I'm like motherfucker, exactly. You just told me to do it this way. Your podcast should be a half hour. Technique. Yeah. Your podcast, for example, right? No, but for example, your podcast should be a half hour. What makes you different than any other half hour volleyball podcast? You know what I mean? Stop it. I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and you're already a snowball that's too big. As far as rolling down the hill. So you've already done a nice separation, like from you, Sandcast, AWEX, and in many instances me, because again I branched away a little bit from volleyball, but I always bring it back home. Question.
Yep.
Where were you when everything got shut down? I like to ask my players that, but you're a commentator too, so.
Well, I was at Merle Norman Stadium for that final duel of the year between Loyola Marymount, USC, Pepperdine, and UCLA. So I got a lot of good footage that day. But so as I was right around 3:30, 4 p.m., I believe it was one of the players' dads on SC. I want to say it was one of the Norse families, like someone had just checked their text, and I was right next to them. I said, hey, they just shut down the Utah Jazz Oklahoma City Thunder game because of COVID concerns. Mm-hmm. And that particular duel, they weren't allowing spectators in. That was the first day that happened. Everyone was watching from the parking structure above Merle Norman, and who was there? Anasaya Kravchenoka and Tina Graudina, Alex Poletto. They're all watching the UCLA USC duel, and that news came out. So the next day, UC Irvine was supposed to host the Big West tournament. That was canceled. And then Monday, the 16th of March, VNL was canceled. And then Tuesday, I believe the 17th, the Olympics was postponed. So I was in LA at that duel. That great. If there's a last duel to be at, that was it. Because there's some of the best teams. Got to see some of the people that, even like Betsy Flint before she's pregnant, John Mayer, all the UCLA USC crew, the Pepperdine crew. Got to see Deanna Croft before she graduated, went to play Wisconsin, who she just started practicing this week, and Brooke Bauer. I mean, all these personalities I've been connected to through the games. So it was a good way to go out. And it was sad that what happened afterwards and where we're kind of still at right now. But
are you sure LMU was at that invitational?
Oh yeah. Okay. I got video.
No, cool. Because when I talked to John said they got shut down. He was on a plane to play GCU.
It was right after that. They were also, some of the teams are supposed to go to Arizona that next day.
Okay.
So
yep. And he was
he talked
him into finding the way to get off the plane. Yeah.
Well, it was such a weird one. There were no spectators except for some parents who were hanging out in the parking structure watching. But man, you could just get the sense that something wasn't going right, with in society, because the news was coming out with infections and first cases being discovered, and then finally that NBA game. So it just snowballed from there.
Wow, dude. Yeah, I mean, for me, I was coaching in the summer at that time, and I was coaching in helping out with some indoor, and I was doing a trailer load of privates, and they closed down the Strand End, the beach. That's when I started asking people, what the hell, where is this? And I'm like, damn, just when his podcast was taking off. And I guess the only difference is I went from in-studio guest to like Zoom. Zoom. Thank God for Zoom. I mean, look at. I mean, some people's podcasts, their video looks choppy. This res is awesome, boy.
Zoom cocktail party turns into a podcast.
Yeah. So and it also expanded my guests, right? Like people didn't have to fly in from Texas or New York or whatever to be in studio. So. Like when this COVID thing hit, I have a person who was part of the Phase 1 Ebola team. Her name is Kathy Parent. Wow. And she was basically her function is her company is they help vet the process of improving vaccines and medications.
Wow.
For the FDA.
They're quite connected here.
Yeah. She's in New York. But basically their sole function is to help companies prepare the process of FDA getting the FDA to approve certain drugs. So wow. She was part of this vaccine thing too. So in conjunction with, I don't know if it was Pfizer or AstraZeneca, but that was the business end. But the truth is, she's a lab rat. She's her master's and her undergrad involved definitely the medical laboratory sciences. So it was really cool having her on. So it was cool having John on, tell me where he was. Dane, telling me how he lost Tina to the Olympics. But she's in LA, I guess, training, so maybe not so much.
That's an interesting topic in itself, because with Olympics being pushed to 2021, they're expecting her to be back playing for USC. And even some of the players like, oh, well, we think Tina's going to be back. But I'm like, what about the Olympics?
Probably
But
not
then
going to happen.
Anastasia is now training in LA. So is she going to be doing both?
She'd have to be a full-time student.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
no, no, there's just not enough time. I mean,
Well, everyone's Zoom classing. You can do that anytime, right?
I guess. And like I said, can you appreciate how this year that we would just as soon forget has improved certain people, certain.
Yeah.
It's definitely helped us as podcasters. You just have to have good bandwidth strength. You have to have good technology. You have to have the clientele lined up already.
Yeah.
And here we go. So yeah, so I was just curious because I've always asked the players that, but I've never asked AWEX. And sooner or later, I knew you and me were going to get back on the same show.
You are coaching at Endless Summer and doing
even
a lot
now.
of
I'm not
games.
doing that. I'm on timeout. We lost half of our clientele, half the courts, social distancing. So right now, it's Oz Borges, the crazy Cubano, and Rob McLean, who's one of the best young minds in beach volleyball right now, 28 years old. He's one of these guys that got really close with Rob DiAurora, like qualifier last round, like a bunch of times. He lost to Boag and Jacobs. The last time Manhattan Beach lost to Baranek and Kolinsky, who subsequently made it to the semis. So, And to our credit, I was his coach. To our credit, we did take the first set. So there were only three teams that took a set from those guys, and we were one of them in the qualifier, no less. So
well, I mean, I wanted to ask you because you've got your hat in different arenas of podcasting, coaching. But what happened to you outside the podcasting things? I know that you're heavily involved with the volleyball coaching world. You said you had to cut half your clientele because of social distancing, but I mean, right at the start of the pandemic, basically everything was shut down. So you weren't able to do any of that.
No, well, for me, I think timing was everything because at the time that happened, the sports debate podcast was taking off.
Okay.
And at the same time, I have a 3-year-old that just turned 4 that was in school at the time. So when she got pulled out of school and mommy was working from home, mommy's with the Capital Group, So, but it didn't stop. She still had to work from 6 o'clock in the morning to 7. So it was just this unique time for me and my girl to just go to the park. Park got closed, but that was okay. Went to the beach. The beach got closed. It was just this great time to spend with her. It was a great time for me to learn to become a sound engineer because the person that texts my show, right? She's not here because of COVID anymore because of social distancing. So just like every other occupation, us volleyball players have to learn how to be the professional or whatever, right? Like Rob, right? You're not a sound engineer. Guess what?
Yep.
Congratulations. You're an Avenger, right? You're in a sound, give that guy mouth to mouth. I'm not certified for CPR. Congratulations.
Now you are.
I didn't go to journalism school. Guess what? You're a commentator, and there's something very unique to answer your question, which I think answers the question and shares the sentiment of many like us, our contemporaries, as well as and the commentary thing, as well as players, that volleyball players adapt better than everybody. But we become mouth-to-mouth people, we become physical therapists, we become color commentators, we become journalists. There was no coach's certification or school to learn to coach volleyball. We have to become these things to make our sport thrive, and I suppose I'm no different than anybody else.
Yeah,
I suppose I'm but there was a ton of downtime where I'm like, I don't know if you know me, Rob, and I'm going to finish my answer here with a humorous thing. I'm good at doing nothing. I'm really good at doing nothing. I have 6 video games I have for the PS4 still in the wrapper because of the podcast. My new video game became engineering, sound engineering, video editing. So all of those things consume all your hours of the day. So you got that, the 3-year-old, and of course, just spending time with my hot, finance volleyball chick from Harvard. Yeah, but beyond that, the extra hours, I'm good at doing nothing. Let me show you something. I got a camera. I got camera 4 here. I want to show you. I'm gonna zoom in on something. This is just a silly thing. So, oh man, I want you to look over there. See those video games? They're still in the plastic, dude. They're still in the plastic. Look over there in that cabinet. Loaded with video games, still in the plastic. Right there, GTA 5. Wow. Still in the plastic. How about that volleyball thing? Look at that.
That is cool.
So during that time, I just spent time with my girl, and then we started doing practices different hours of the day and then different days of the week to just distance people out. My indoor team, Evolution, we're practicing exclusively on the beach. I'm just setting up 3 nets. So every time we get close, we have the mask. And then every Wednesday, we have a competition Wednesday, which is doubles only, which helps indoor players improve their blocking because they have more court to cover. To improve their back row defense, you have to be better readers because there's no one else back there. So it did help for blocking, digging, and serve to space. Not so much for hitting,
attacking.
Right, the math, right? 2 blockers, 4 diggers. Setting, because I don't want my kids dishing the ball. My setter, indoor, you want your setter to have a fast release, otherwise it throws off the timing of the middles, right? And serve receive. Serve receive is more target and timing specific with play running, with the back row quick and shotgun plays, 31, this and that outdoor players. What, right? You just pass anything they could put their hands on and they're good. So,
well, being the indoor and beach coach that you are, how do you see this time impacting players in the future?
Well, it could be the end of men's beach volleyball as we know it if guys like us don't keep mind our P's and Q's, right? It's already impacted. Indoor volleyball, they can cut programs outside of the pandemic, right? We're going to get into Stanford in a big. We ain't finishing this podcast without talking about Stanford. So, from indoor Division I men's, educating my non-volleyball audience only offers 4.5 scholarships per team. So so we're already the bastard children of NCAA sports for indoor. So outdoor men's, the only ones that thrive or survive are going to be the top 5 players, because those are the ones that if you got to go less people, they're going to make their money. But it F's the future of volleyball, because as far as educating our young and including some of these young studs in those groups where iron can sharp iron, where they pass the knowledge, that's not happening right now. That's not happening right now. Here's a psychological hook. Sorry, and it's gonna seem like it has nothing to do with this, but I'm gonna bring it back.
All right.
I'm running a private with some men people. I'm training Oz Borges, Rob McLean, Rob DiAurora, kid named Connor, East Coast kid out of Long Island. There's some young players that get so good so fast, they're kind of set in their ways, right? And if it's a coach they never heard of, maybe they listen, maybe they don't. If they're heard of course they're going to give them their respect, right? So right now I'm in this category. If you never heard of me, just be scared of me. That's your option. Fear me, he's a nut. Don't mess with that dude. Just do what he says. Or I'm going to do what he says because I respect him. But there's no third option. So my hook was Miles Partain. You know who Miles Partain is, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Made the draw at 15 years old. The youngest player to make the draw. Did it with his brother, no less, at 17 years old. Yep. He went from that to qualifying for draws, making the last round, if not qualifying, all the way up to finishing 5th with Lotman, Paul Lotman in Chicago. Yep. And I looked at Connor. I'm like, are there people in his group that jump higher than Miles Partain? Yeah. Are there people that hit harder than Miles Partain? Yeah. Are there people in this group that are more athletic than Partain? Of course. But yet, there he is. Yep. And there you are. Why? Wow. Why? And there's a silence after the why. I let them take a beat, and then I don't let them tell me why. Then the next thing I say after that, boom, they got the sound in their headphones, and now guess what? Now we communicate. Now they're fucking listening to me. So
now they're dialed in.
So that's kind of the way that I've been coaching. But bringing it back full circle to the whole men's thing, that's how we got to approach some of these kids. We have to make sure we say something that's a hook that keeps them engaged. Otherwise, in this pandemic where you could easily just lose your way, it could be the end of men's beach volleyball as we know it. Wow. We have to hook it.
Thought of it that way.
We have to hook it. That's why I steered us off, because I feel like Kanye West, for Christ's sake. Did you see him with Joe Rogan? He was like, what the hell are you bringing up Brandon Lee and Bruce Lee getting killed? One, one got killed by a blank. What are you talking about? But then you listen long enough, he brings it back, and I'm like,
yeah,
oh shit, he's a genius.
Yeah.
Kanye's a genius, and his problem is he knows it. But so let's talk about Stanford. And this is where I'm handing the steering wheel back to you, because I want you to introduce our subject matter on the what's happening. Tell my audience what's happening with Stanford.
So I'm going to be as objective as possible, because I'm the middle guy. I just want to provide the information. But it was announced in July of 2020 that Stanford would be discontinuing its men's volleyball program after the 2021 season. And they cited that it was because of COVID impacts that they are doing that, along with 10 other Olympic sports at the university. So that created quite the stir in the not only volleyball community, but obviously the other sports, because it's, men's and women's swimming and a few other sports as well that we're all familiar with, but they're mainly Olympic sports. They're not revenue generating sports like basketball, football, baseball. So that was announced in July. And the big topic of discussion is, well, there are these huge endowments that the university has. Why couldn't
Harvard worthy? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. Well, so, I thought the same thing as just the normal guy. You've got how many billion in endowments? And then the other question was like, gosh, just athletics alone has a huge endowment. I'm not privy to those figures, but so before coming on with you, I was like, well, let me just see if they've updated anything since I've been on the site. Well, they have an FAQ now on their site that lays out what their reasoning is behind that. And essentially that, for the main Stanford University endowment, it's earmarked for things like financial aid, at the university, and other like programs like that. So that's their justification for not giving any of the Stanford University funds. And then on the athletics side of things, they've indicated that although they do have this endowment, they have nowhere near enough to sustain the sports that they'd have to cut, because they've calculated that it's going to cost $200 million is the number that comes to mind to sustain those programs long term. And it just wasn't a good model. So I'm not in sports business. I'm not in collegiate sports business. But, I'm looking at the other side because I have a personal stake in it. UC Irvine assistant coach, Mark Prescio, his son, Kyler, is the starting middle blocker at Stanford. So I spoke to him immediately about what was happening and how it all went down. And essentially they got a text. They needed to be on this admin Zoom call. And that's how the news was delivered. And, I know it's a very sensitive issue, and I want to be careful in it, because I know I've chatted with some people at Stanford men's volleyball, and they're in this area, like it's a tough place to be, because they're still trying to bridge the divide between the alumni and the current athletes on the men's volleyball team and the administration. Because like everyone else, I want to know what's going on, but he's like, it's still too sensitive. In fact, Ed Chan just posted a story on volleyballmag.com just last week with a semi update. The athletes like Justin Louis, their libero, Jalen Jasper, their opposite from Maryland, and
Savage.
Kyler have all been going on and saying, look, we weren't even given a chance. And a bunch of names that you'll recognize as alumni are trying to come to the assistants. Matt Fairbringer, who's the assistant coach at Long Beach State, Mike Lambert, a lot of huge names are trying to like, hey, rethink this, give us a chance. And they have 4 national championships, for goodness sakes, So where it's at now, as of last week, administration said that if they bring one sport on, they have to bring another sport on that may not have the funding to sustain it, even if they did personal fundraising. So I may be incorrect in that, but that was the buzz. But I do recommend to go to that FAQ page of Stanford and see at least their side of the story. But I mean, I'm passionately involved. Like, why would you want to cut a D1 program with a history, the Olympians, the beach volleyball studs that you've created just in your historic program. So
yeah, no, listen, keep going. I mean, I didn't want to cut you off. I just wanted you to keep going for the audio, for audio version purposes. But for the people watching the video, just scroll through some of this, and whatever you see, just get on that website right away. For me, just like you, there's things that I like to talk about that are in our wheelhouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we might talk about something more sensitive than this after to finish the podcast, but like I said, if I attack people, it's only through volleyball. It's only things within my wheelhouse. If you suck, you suck. If you're great, you're great. You know. And if you're okay, you're okay. I don't live in false dichotomies either. You know. I'm a big gray area guy. But also another rule of logic is the burden of proof should not lie on the person questioning the claim. We are questioning this claim. Why should there shouldn't be a whole look it up thing. So here's my question. Head coach has got a full-time salary. Is he getting paid like a football coach? No. Football is bringing in more money. It's getting paid like basketball coach? No. I don't know if basketball is bringing in anything. I never even heard of Stanford. They don't even exist. All right. Stanford women's team, same probably pay that guy the same amount that Hambly's making, and Hambly won 3 out of the last 4 years. So volunteer assistants or volunteer positions, no paid, no money, no endowment. Director of operations, hell, for the love of the sport, son. You know, team managers, most likely maybe from the women's squad because they're, because volleyball's incestuous like that. The women help out the women and the men help out the men. You know, people that call lines, people that work a game, it's very not expensive. The equipment, with the exception of the balls, is already there. As far as traveling is concerned, with the number of people, if you look at Stanford's schedule, at least the last 5 years, I'll just use a sample size of 5 years, not too thick, not too thin. They don't travel much anyway. They don't leave the state of California unless it's for a good reason.
Right.
Don't tell me you don't have the money to keep this program. When is it bringing back a lot of revenue? No, but I mean, what is? What is? Who the hell's jamming a stadium, 10,000 people to watch a chemistry experiment? What then? Right? What money is that bringing in? Just like the arts, just like theater performance, man, find a way. Harvard finds a way. Harvard actually has more sports than any other collegiate. More NCAA sports than any other college.
Well, I know that Stanford has 35. What is Harvard at? I mean, I thought 35 was pretty big. But
no, I think, I don't know the number, but that guy said it. Okay. Okay. Street knowledge, bro. Where's my source? The streets. No, but that's disappointing because to me, they were always the West Coast of Harvard. Right? Mm-hmm. If they had a freaking Frisbee, an ultimate team, I wouldn't have been surprised. Right? Or the High-A-Lie. If they had High-A-Lie, I wouldn't have been surprised. They're very much the West Coast of Harvard. My wife calls it the West Coast of Harvard,
Right.
I got an investment in it too. My close friend, Wendy Jones, who's a volleyball player, but one of the power mom of the West Coast. She's got a son that's a freshman at Stanford right now. I don't know his first name, but Jones. Has a daughter at TCU playing for Hector. So, and she's got another kid that's 16. That's going to be, so she's like, she's disappointed. He's not going to transfer because it's Stanford and only at USC. I mean, Stanford, you stay for the same reason you don't leave USC, because USC, the alumni takes care of their own. Right. If you leave, you live in the South Bay, you're never going to be out of work. Just like Harvard, just like Stevens Tech, New Jersey, highest post-graduation rate. But Stanford, because it's a smart kid school, you're not going to transfer.
Yeah.
Right. To play volleyball, and you're student before student athlete. Sorry, go ahead.
See, my thing is that without having the business knowledge of what's happening in the backgrounds and the admin, like, why wouldn't you give this program a chance? It just seems like the most logical step. But I guess that got thrown out the window with the COVID concerns and impacts of COVID. But
who's getting a scholarship there? Who's getting an athletic scholarship there? Nobody. The most they can do, the most they can give. I'll say it again, people listening. Listen with both ears. Hello, hello. 4.5 for a whole team. Which back in 1994 when Jason Olive was playing was pretty cool because there were only 12-man rosters and no liberos. But now you want these big-ass squads where, like, you need enough people to play each other plus a third team to come in or whatever. Like Espero had like 22 people. You're right? So if I'm watching if I'm watching a Miracosta game and some mom sitting next to me says, oh, my son got a full scholarship, I'm going to smack her on the back of her head, okay? Because ain't no way you're going to give someone a full ride. You got to find a way to – it's already bad enough. You see the point I'm trying to make? It's already bad enough. You have to slice up that pie. 4.5 scholarships to see who gets a piece. My guess is at that time, Stanford probably offered none. You know?
Yeah.
They just, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to add that, if people are listening or viewing, want to find out more about this, go to SaveStanfordSports.com.
Thank you.
SaveStanfordSports.com, or you can follow Save Stanford Volleyball on Instagram. They're keeping it pretty active, and you can get all the information you need there. It's, I don't think donations is the problem, although they will happily take them. I think now it's just doing the negotiating with the administration at this point, because they do have a pretty hefty alumni backing.
Can you imagine if they cut USC's men's volleyball program, the blowback? Dude, there would be enough blowback to cause a literal man-made to natural disaster. There would be so much man-made blowback, it would cause a literal earthquake. And God bless. I've been kind of a hater on USC, but man, I really love the loyalty. I really love the way they take care of their own. I really, really love and what's not to like about Anna Corrier and what's not to love about Dane Blanton. Okay.
Well, I also, Jay, I wanted to share with you, but another NCAA proposal came down the line that was also threatening men's volleyball and potentially indoor and collegiate beach. But the football, the bowl subdivision schools had put in a request for the amount of the minimum waiver program for the amount of D1 sports to have, and they were citing COVID pandemic reasons. So they wanted to reduce the number of required programs to remain in D1 competition.
They ain't gonna mess with women's volleyball.
Yeah, well,
it's 2-on-2, social not inside a gym, 2-on-2. I mean, you're not gonna find a more socially distant sports except for golf and tennis.
Yeah,
right?
Well, I found that out right before the whole Stanford situation, and John Sproul reached out to me, as well as Kathy DeBoer, the president of the executive of the ABCA, and we got some information out to people so people could sign the petition. And it didn't make it through, but it's always going to be on the table, especially with the economic impacts of COVID. So it's definitely one thing to watch out. Schools are trying to start cutting programs to start saving money, and unfortunately, men's volleyball is on the chopping board. Well, actually, all the volleyball programs are on the chopping board because they're Olympic sports.
It sucks. Like, we don't get mad until it happens, because as far as men's volleyball being on the chopping board, when you hear that, I mean, the last few years, it's like a normal, okay, all right, what else? Tell me something different. That's what's new, what's not new, And the crazy thing is, I'm glad they're doing this for Stanford, because once programs get chopped, they don't come back. Like, I'll bring you a East Coast flavor, right? Queens College, one of the only Division II teams to make it to the EIVA finals, right? Or was it? I'm not sure. Carl Pierre, ex-Crayo guy, was the head coach. Cut that program. Southampton, LIU Southampton. Carl Robinson. Kyle Robinson played on the national team. He was an Alpo there. Mike Salick, one of the better players out there. They cut that. East Stroudsburg University, Pennsylvania. They cut that program. Roger Williams, very good coaching staff in Rhode Island. John Harper, those guys cut that program. So it's like Concordia. You think Concordia in California was good? Dude, recruit a whole bunch of freaking Colombian and international players and stick them in upstate New York. You got yourself a Division II powerhouse. They cut that program. So, and no, you only you hear it's cut, and then you're like, oh, that's sad, and then you move on with life. But that doesn't seem to be happening with Stanford right now. No, there's a legit movement. There's a legit movement, and if I heard about it, it's legit, because I haven't ingratiated myself in indoor volleyball men's as much since I moved here. Well,
the irony of it is you're seeing the highest participation growth rate in volleyball, even in men's, boys high school. But across the board, volleyball is the only one that's double-digit growth in participation. So it just doesn't make sense to cut this program.
Oh, and I love my sport because the stars, to the lowest level player, to the volleyball fan, it's like a family. There's some people, they only hang out with their own, and that's cool. But collectively, if I had to judge volleyball as a collective whole, there's no wall. There's the wall's up. It's like mixed martial arts. You know what I'm saying? Someone wants a picture, someone wants to talk, someone wants an autograph there. It's like everyone always has time for each other, and and for the people that behave differently, that's fine. I mean, there's just so many options, the option,
like
hence the podcast.
Options.
Yeah. Which is honestly, allowed me the liberty of making this podcast possible. In any other situation, if I asked someone and they said no, and if I ask enough people say no, I can't have a podcast. But no, the option is always someone is going to say yeah, this at every level,
Yeah.
And unlike Aaron Wexley, who I respect and love, and unlike you and some other people, I don't just. It's not just the players that everyone knows. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I got some underground guys playing in Central Park, New York. Bernard Norman. I got Carl Frantz, who was the coach of Rutgers, who's Jose Peña's assistant, right?
Live contributor.
But yeah. Oh, the man. He's the man. Eric Anderson. So from from gold medalist Ryan Millar. Okay, to Chi DiMaggio, former player out of Tulane, who's the founder of a new movement called I Heart Volleyball. You're gonna know about that this year because we're starting it this year.
Okay, I'll look for it.
Yeah, listen, you're more gonna look for it. You're gonna be on it. You're gonna be with me because they put me in charge of California, and they told me to bring in whoever I want with me, basically, because she trusts me. So she's like, you should bring in Mike Dodd or Kessel, and I'm like, no, I want to bring in fresh. Sometimes you could bring in people who might have, whose star power doesn't transcend 2 generations, maybe, and Mike Dodd doesn't. Sorry, you don't. You transcend 1 generation, but I ask my 18-year-olds, they don't know who he is. They don't, So basically, we're doing 20 live streams from 20 different countries, volleyball, indoor, beach, hard court, hard top. So far, Ghana's in, Italy's in, Uganda's in, Brazil is in, New York is in, Louisiana with Sean Ledig and those guys, Louisiana Beach Volleyball's in. And she wants me to do the whole California movement. And I said, the first things first, got to have someone that could call it. And I was like, Rob Espero. Got to have someone that could call it. And I only knew that because for everybody listening at home, when P1440 was in business, we were doing all of Pepperdine's home games.
Yep.
And we called the Big West Championship. And I called us the Fab Five. It was Mike Dodd. It was Tim Hovland. It was Travis Muirweather, a writer for Volley Mag. We know him. He breathed life literally on pen and paper, if you will, metaphorically speaking. There's you, who's a savage. And of course, there's yours truly. There's me. So as far as beach star power, not indoor. As far as people who knows or whatever, people who are interested because they're a name, you got Mike Dodd. As far as someone's ability to do the job better than anybody else, I think it's you or it's me. It's you or it's me.
Wow.
I always say you and then behind your back, I'm trying to take your lunch money. But as far as Chi DiMaggio, and you'll look at the name later, CHI. She said, I don't care about if they're a star or not. Can they do the job or not? Are they good at their job or not? I don't care what they did 10 years ago. I don't care who follows them or who says what about them. The bottom line is he good? Is he good enough to do the job? Is he great? Is he good or not? And when she posed that question, the first person I thought of was you. Because Dodd is a good color commentator, but he's not very good at calling it and commentating. He's good. Sorry about that. And the people that live in a dichotomy of he's great or he sucks, I'm not going. No, he's good. He's just not. He's not as good as you. He's not as good as Travis Muirweather. Sure as hell isn't as good as me. Okay, so there are people that are interchangeable. They can call the match and they could do color commentary, and they can break down. Rob Espero, Mr. Espero. That is a gift. There are people that do color commentary better than us. Okay, Rich Lamborn I think is really, really good. I think Kevin Barnett is he's an example of interchangeable indoor and outdoor. He could break down or whatever. He could sit there by himself. He takes you through this journey. He educates you on whatever and this and that. And I say that for indoor. And I'll leave it at that because I always feel like I'm crapping on a guy, and I don't mean to do that. Jeff Alzina, good color guy, good breakdown guy, right? I mean, can he call a match? Yeah. Can he call a match like you? No. And I'm just being, dude, I'm just being honest here because I know people will be like, oh, what do you mean? Oh, he's a coach here. He was Stein Mesker's coach in the Olympics. No, I'm not talking about what you did in the Olympics. I'm not talking about your coaching acumen. I'm talking about, can you do the fucking job? Can you do the job with that, with there, because there are levels to that. Can you do that job with a heightened level that this guy can? Either you can or you can't. I don't care about your credentials. You know, not when it comes to other people that never even heard of you, that you're trying to hook and generate the interest. Okay. Yeah. So that's where, and I can't believe I'm saying this on camera. I was supposed to talk to you about this off camera. We got a lot of money, dude. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Well, King Uganda's in, Ghana's in, Prince of Ghana's in, Seydou lives there. He's in. So it's global. It's a global event, and it's not star driven. It's going to be from the queens in New York that play hard top, in Central Park next to the basketball courts, the short little, like the Lincoln Park hoop games. To the beach guys in South Bay, to Louisiana Beach. I think Kristen Nuss, Taryn Cloth, they're after the season's over at LSU, I'm sure they'll be down. I had them on the podcast a couple of weeks ago.
Great guest, by the way.
Yeah, man. She's the best beach player in the country.
Yeah.
She's the best. Kristen Nuss.
Taryn Cloth is going to be a very highly sought after blocker. Kristen's going to be a highly sought after defender.
Yeah, man. Girl out of Creighton, man. Right? Just her game just transcended in. Taryn Cloth, for the people listening, Creighton, Elite 8, NCAA, got him that far, I believe.
And learned beach volleyball in a year, and as good as she is.
Yeah, as a grad student, right? Yep. So they kept their eligibility. Their coaches are savages. I think we can share this on Volleyball Coaches and Trainers if we start talking about the difference in coaching and how coaching makes LSU a better team. I believe right now, in my heart of hearts, the number one team in the country. It really depends on Tina. Where's Tina? And how's that pair one going to allow Dana to do his good work? Go ahead.
I just got to add, you keep saying Tina, but they did have a great add-on this year in transfer, Julia Scholes.
Oh.
Now, if you don't know who Julia Scholes is,
nope.
She played at Hawaii in the number ones with Mia Hanneman.
Oh, okay. No. Wait. I do know. I know her.
But you know that her and Haley Harward, who transferred into USC, played in 5-ish tournaments this last summer and won them all. And Kristen and Taryn have played in 12 tournaments and were undefeated in tournament championships. And they had a chance to come together, but there was a wedding, a former LSU student or a teammate, so they didn't show up to the same tournament that Haley and Julia were at. But Julia Scholes is one to watch at USC, just so they may not have Tina back because Olympic commitments.
Yes.
But they've got Julia Scholes, who's got a really heavy arm.
So this is the iHeart Volleyball thing. Digital platform for kids. Mission Biome. It's definitely she's deep into the environment. She's a chemical engineer. Sean Ledig's a chemical engineer. So it's to promote health and wellness throughout the world. And she wanted to find a platform or a way to do it via sports, entertainment, health and wellness, and this and that. So she's like, wait a second, she's been in the main draw a couple of times back in her heyday. Her partner was Camille, East Coast
That's
talent.
That's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah. And
I like a little movement there.
Yep. Yeah. Her and I built City Tech off the ground. City Tech isn't much of a program now, but we built that program from the ground up. We recruited Patrick Dietz, who you probably know pretty well. He's a coach of Mount St.
Remember
Vincent.
where
he's the head coach of Mount St. Vincent for a while, and
I've seen
he won Offensive Player of the Year in 2000. NCAA NECVA Offensive Player of the Year.
All right.
And I recruited Eugene Escoboza, who played for Bameso, Bameso won nationals in 2004 and 2005 for men's adult. Wow. Actually, I set for that team. I didn't go to nationals with them, but I set for that team. But they wanted me to pay my own way, and I was like, no, bye. So, come on. You just paid for Baptiste, who didn't play with us all year, dude. You're not gonna pay me. So that's what's going on with that. But before we finish, there's a hot button topic, and I want us to speak in our wheelhouse a little bit, and you'll allow me permission to speak out of it. There was a bill passed by Tulsi Gabbard, former Hawaiian, I think it's been passed, Hawaiian congresswoman. She's no longer a congresswoman, but she
was a presidential candidate for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I voted for her. She's
Iraqi veteran. Oh yeah, love her.
Yeah, listen, you want everybody? No, but everyone's looking for that person with that it factor, right? Oh, we're looking for a woman of color. Check. We're looking for a woman, who cares about vets. Check. She's actually still in the military. She's still active duty. She's still a major in the National Guard. 2 tours in Iraq.
I did not know that.
We're looking for a woman who cares about education. Check. We're looking for a woman who cares about LGBT, that stuff. Check. In fact, her family grew up homophobic, but when she joined the Army, got a new education on it. And since then, she's had a 100% rating by the Human Rights Campaign. So she introduced a bill called the Protection of Women's Athletes Act, or I'm paraphrasing here. So everyone jumped on her, be like, "Oh, now you're transphobic. You're trying to ban transphobic or whatever, and this and that." And she's like, "No, if you actually read the bill, it's a specific only to transgender men, or men who transform to women that are playing women's sports."
Yep.
And I appreciate it, one, because she's a woman that's involved in this, right? It's good for a bunch of us guys to get together. All right, boys, this is what we're gonna do to protect our women. No. How about have a woman in the room and talk about this shit, right? Yeah. So she used mixed martial arts as an example, right? I want you to use volleyball as an example because I know you know the player from Brazil, and I think that's where you could take over. Fallon Fox had the surgery, made the transformation, and within 8 months was fighting in the women's division for 135 pounds. Just starching people. Bone structure still there, still genetically a guy. So to me, I supported the bill until they get a better education on the science, because the science says the complete transformation takes 1.5 years. Hormonal, this and that. Plus you have to be on some kind of testosterone level, therapy stuff, which is a banned substance in MMA. So maybe they have to have an exemption for that. But I think anybody who calls someone transphobic just because they say we need to have a conversation about this is not being honest. Now I sound like I'm siding with women athletes to protect them, and I am a little bit, but I'm not closed-minded about it.
Right.
I'm not bigoted about it. Bigoted is closed-minded. You got your mind made up, and there's nothing going to change it. That's a bigot. All right. Yeah. And as it applies to volleyball, because there's a Brazilian player, a male that's now playing in the women's pro league or whatever, and I wanted to know how you felt about that as far as volleyball is concerned.
Well, I think I know the MMA example that you referenced and what Tulsi Gabbard used as her example. And there is a physical difference, just a stature, and it's dangerous. It's not about former male, former woman, or what you identify as. To me, it's more of a safety issue and an unfair advantage. If from the science standpoint and physicality standpoint, they can make them equal, which it should be about equality. I'm all for it. Now, but what we're seeing is you have track meets being run in, for instance, Colorado. We had a repeat state champion who finally was beat out, but the person that beat her was someone who now identified as a girl, and beat her handily. And then this Australian MMA fighter, she was the champion, got her face crushed in by this one who now identified as a female.
Fallon Fox.
Yes.
Yep.
So, I mean, to me, it's more of an equity and a safety issue. Because if they have an unfair advantage because of just their natural stamina, their stature and their build, which if you look at some of the examples of where the people who now identify as women are, they are just, and I say this, they definitely have an advantage. And to any other person who identifies as a woman, that's not fair. They've got a head start on, well, not a head start, but they have an advantage. And I have a problem with that. And when that advantage leads to potential danger, harm, I definitely got a problem with it.
Yeah, and I say this very carefully because we're two men that are trying to talk about what's right and what's wrong with men participating in women's sports. And I think the more that we have women talk about this, because the problem we have is a genetically superior, person using that as an advantage to chop women down in women's sports. So for me, men definitely should opine on it. But I think the more women that we introduce into this topic, into this conversation, because they're the ones that stand to lose. Right. Not us. I mean, us, we could say whatever we want. I mean, women coming into men's sports, there was a woman that's on that's like on a boys or a men's wrestling team. We don't think about it as much because it's an uphill climb from that. And it's weird and it's unfair. And I'm very, very prejudiced on my part to not care about that as much as I care about the first, that I openly admit. And that's where I would say I'm flawed. And that's where I would say anyone that has an opinion on this, before you call me a bigot and before you call me phobic, I'm saying let's have a conversation. Saying tell me why I'm wrong. Introduce. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because I'm sure there are people listening that can come to us that know the science on this. We're only speaking out of our wheelhouse. I'm an MMA enthusiast. I'm also ex-military, where hand-to-hand combat and a lot of the things that I learned is highly relatable. So us as volleyball players, when you have a male player playing on a woman's high net, educating people at home, men's net, the middle the sides are no higher than 8 feet. The middle is no lower than 7'11" and 5/8. So basically the net across the board is 8 feet with a 3-inch difference. Women's height net, guys, 7'4" and 1/8. So men's net, I'll say it again, 8 feet, 7'4" and 1/8. 8 feet, 7'4" and 1/8. Come on. Yeah. Come on, dude. Come on, stop. So the reason why this is the third time I brought it up I brought it up previous episodes, because I do challenge anyone just to come with me with the science. Let's talk about it. Let's put it on the podcast. Yeah. Let's educate ourselves if I'm wrong. But so far, every player that I talked to, and I made sure my last 3 guests were female, were like, no. And then they've all conceded that, look, women, there's a reality. Women are not the stronger sex and this and that. And it's not the same as a woman wanting to be a fireman or a woman trying to be in Navy SEALs Academy and this and that. It's not the same.
Right. I wholeheartedly agree with you. But like I said, I'm open to the discussion. If the science can prove me otherwise, hey, I can change. The science.
I say the science understood.
Yeah.
Because I say based on the evidence collected, because a lot of people are like, no, it's all the evidence, period. And I'm like, no, all the evidence collected, Yeah. I watched this episode of The Practice, right? And Bobby Donnell, right? And he's like, well, why haven't you pursued this? Was he your only suspect? You didn't pursue anybody else? Why not? And he's like, because all of the evidence pointed at your client. He's like, all the evidence collected? And the guy goes, all the evidence, period. He goes, okay, all the evidence, period. The murder weapon.
Right.
He says, He says there was no murder weapon recovered. He says, how about bloody clothes recovered at the scene of the crime? There were no bloody clothes. He says, so that's all the evidence collected, right, detective? That was my side of that argument. Oh my God, are you hungry yet? Do you want to get off this? Are we hungry?
I'm good, but it's just great to have the conversation, because I know although you go far beyond volleyball, I mean, the volleyball world appreciates what you do because, even all the chat boards and the discussion, I'm like, hey, I know Jason. Your name gets dropped. Like, hey, I know him.
Yeah, volley talk. Man, I some guy I was just saying anybody but that guy, and I was just like, dude, I got a girlfriend. It was a year. This guy had something to say within a year time, like 4 or 5 posts, and finally, I have mine is Y2 Jason 23 for volley chat, and I just said, because when you get to where you got to go, Rob, where we are right now, the number one rule is do not feed the trolls.
Yeah.
Do not as you continue to ascend with your star power and you're known, beloved and or hated or whatever. Do not answer trolls. People want to know more about Rob Espero. Yeah, talk to them. People like your work. Yeah, people criticize your work. Sure, maybe chat with them a little bit, but you can clearly see somebody's got nothing to say. They went off on you, and you're like, how do I answer this about volleyball? If you can't answer about volleyball, do not feed the trolls. I got trolls. I got trolls in different area codes. You got hoes in different area codes. I got trolls in different area codes. Okay. So, lastly, before we go, the one thing I also like about you, because I had something in our topic about being careful what you say. And like the blowback you receive and this and that, like look what happened to Carrie just saying that one thing in that long diatribe, right? She was wrong, but again, Jesus, so I like you because you put yourself in a position like as long as you stay with your mission statement, you don't have to be careful what you say.
Yeah.
I'm about health and wellness. I'm about current events. I'm about politics. I'm about sports. I'm about something else I forgot. It was 4 pillars, but I forgot the 4th pillar because I'm old. But you're all about that volleyball. But you're all about that action, man. You're about that volleyball business. And when you are, and because you're good at it, and because you love what you do, you put yourself in a position where you don't have to be careful what you say.
I can react and just talk about it.
Yeah,
and it's a wonderful place to be.
It is.
And having my phone rolling, getting video, I've got some great moments. And even while I'm commentating, I'll have my phone out just because I can get a different perspective. And, you'll see on my Instagram feed or my YouTube feed that I've got some great update or highlights from that I happen to be there for. That I'm like, wow, these athletes are such incredible performers. So
no doubt.
Being there and getting to know the people is just the bonus. Like I said, they've kept us so entertained and on the edge of our seats. And, I want to continue to see this even through this pandemic. When the end of the pandemic comes, we're going to be right back at it and having a good time calling these matches, indoors, beach, you name it.
And that's when all of this other stuff we talked about was something I call the other. That's when all of it goes away, man. Your escapism is back, or you're there. Some people use this as an escapism. Even when your escapism is your career, you can't help it. You delve and you dive into it, and it's just beautiful. For me, and I like the way you do it. For me, I had to do it my way because I didn't grow up in the South Bay like you did. I wasn't able to ingratiate myself in the relationships, and for me, in order for me to put myself in the position and still be real, and still be honest, and still have my self-respect and my integrity, I can only say that, hey, I'm not this way because I'm on camera. I'm on camera because I'm this way. And either you like
New
me
Yorker,
or you don't.
and I've learned from my wife, who's a New Yorker as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, your wife's a New Yorker.
See,
yep, she's cute too, man. We both got smoke shows for wives, man.
How do we? Mamas.
I hate to say this because everybody says it's about guys, man. How the hell did you get so lucky? I hate when people say that about guys, but in our case, I got to eat that. I got to take that hot L and give our girls the dub, man. But that's the one thing I liked about you. But for me, I behave this way because I knew if I did it any other way, the consequences were too dire.
Yeah.
If I changed up and if I were just following everybody, hey, what are you up to today? Is there a life after volleyball? Is there going to be an AVP Zamunda? If I'm going to ask all these questions and just be someone that I'm not and ask questions that I believe that other people don't want to hear, then the worst case scenario is, 1, they don't like me and I'm left on the outside looking in. And 2, I just sold my soul. So there I go.
Yeah.
On the outside looking in and just stripped. No soul. No.
Yeah.
So for me, I just play my worst case scenario. If the worst that can happen is that people are interested in talking to me, that's fine.
Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
thank you. Hey, I'll
Yeah.
find someone else.
I mean, you're going to lose a lot of things in your life, but you should never lose your self-respect. And for
Yeah.
sure, when it comes to you and me, don't lose our sense of humor because
Yeah.
God, we got jokes for days, man. You
Hey,
know?
all I gotta say is I love your AVP Zamunda because I just watched Coming to America 2 nights ago.
You did?
And when you said that, I'm like laughing so hard on the inside. Where do I find a queen? Queens, of course.
Yeah, but where can we find a woman fit for a king? Queens. Good for them because they went to Brooklyn, man. They got a beat up every night. I love that movie. Good morning, my neighbors. Hey, fuck you. Yes. Fuck you too. So it's true. Yep. So hey,
Yeah.
big up to you. I don't know if you watch MMA as much as I do. We got Connor coming up next week. Connor's gonna fight.
Oh, do you?
Connor's gonna
I'll
fight
watch that for
Dustin
sure.
Poirier.
Yeah.
Connor beaten him a few years ago, but it's at a different weight class. They fought at 145 back then, and now it's 155. And two, Dustin, he's on fire right now. To my knowledge, he's only lost to Khabib, which is
Yeah.
right. There's death taxes in Khabib Nurmagomedov. Everyone loses to him, right?
I'll have to watch for that for sure this upcoming week. But there's a lot of volleyball going on this week too, and I can't leave the show
Where?
without.
Come on. Where?
Okay, Volleyball League America has it's a men's professional indoor league. It's Loy Ball's team, Team Pineapple, against an East Coast team, Legion Volleyball Club.
Legion. That's upstate New York. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're playing at the Volleyball Academy Institute, which, it's pretty open, but it's the professional volleyball league that's being endorsed by USA Volleyball.
Good.
There's two men's they're trying to start up. The other one is the NBA, National Volleyball Association, which had an event in early February. Pretty good, response to it, but we've got two pro indoor leagues now, or semi-pro.
Legion's long overdue, man. Legion's got some very good talent. Buffalo, upstate New York.
Former George Mason guys.
Yeah, man, they're good, man. I remember going to Lake George. I played beach fours, man, and we got. This is when I was playing. We got chatty. They wanted to fight me in the parking lot, but at the end of the day, two alphas go at it. No matter who wins, they definitely like to party at night too. So same night. We were out there. I played with Jeff Schitzel. I played with this guy from Germany. Jay Czech that played for Cal Northridge, 7-foot guy, the Polish guy.
Yeah.
He was out there. Yep. Yeah, I was. He went to Bryan High School in New York and Queens. So
did he?
I know. Yep, that's where he went. He went to Bryan High School. So there's this association, and of course the NBA. I know a lot of players out there. Greg Faulkner, who we know and love, plays for one of those.
The Black
leagues.
Panther.
Yeah.
At the Manhattan Six.
How about Zebra too? Mikhail Hoyde, East Coast guy. He's played for I believe the Barbados national team. He's a middle / Oppo. Elnis Palomino. He played for the Dominican national team.
Okay,
and I
that's
believe
right.
2 years ago for the Men's Open National, he won. He won the whole thing. Supposedly they're based out of North Carolina. That's not true. All right, like Balmesa, right? Balmesa when we won 2004, 2005. No, they're not from North Carolina. They're from Washington Heights, New York. Okay, and all of those guys travel back and forth from Mocha, Santo Domingo, and they play from the national team, whatever. The only reason why they say North Carolina because Ulysses, the director, lives in North Carolina now, but he goes back and forth. And those guys, you want to talk about iron sharpening iron? 145th and Broadway, Riverbank State Park in New York, fours. Nobody on that damn gym speaks English. Fours, not for freshmen, strictly for linemen. Free volleyball Monday night, 7 o'clock to 10. And if you can't pass, they don't care how tall you are. If you're not fundamentally sound in all 6 fundamentals, you play with the girls. Get out of here, go play with the girls. So yeah, strictly for linemen. So but that Ulysses, his wife played on the women's national team. So her name escapes me, and I believe her women's team won the same year Balmesa won. So, but I'm glad they're doing these pro leagues. But I want to make sure they don't recruit the same people who are part of the fucking problem.
Yeah.
Don't recruit people who are part of the problem, man. That led to bankruptcy or God knows who.
Yeah. Well, Jay, this is a big time period in history for not only our culture but for volleyball, because you have men's indoors starting in the next 2 weeks, collegiate if it flies.
Yep.
You have women's beach starting the end of February. You've got the Athletes Unlimited Pro League, which is some of the world's best, playing like basically they draft teams every week and each individual scores points. And at the end of it, they get to win the pot of money.
They got to do
individual stats.
They got to do a DraftKings thing for that, dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
so that's coming up
God.
February through March. So this is all going on at the same time. So there's going to be a lot of volleyball coming up, and I'm curious as to what the AVP is going to do. But I'm just hoping collegiate beach flies for now, and then we'll step into the summer for AVP because, after the AVP Champions Cup, Josh Glazebrook, Conover, Donaldson, they did a phenomenal job putting that event together, and I was watching every minute on multiple screens.
I got nothing but praise. I got nothing but praise. Nothing but praise for Donaldson, and nothing but praise from Jeff Conover or whatever. I haven't been their biggest critic, but I've been critical where I thought the criticism was fair. And Jeff Conover, we had a little talk about that, and he said, "I don't care if you criticize us as long as it's not unfair." I'm like, of course you're gonna think it's not unfair if you're from the inside, if you're an insider and know shit that I don't, right? But no, nothing but praise. They find a way to make 3 events happen. Conover's a savage. I might pitch my resume to them if they decided to have a commentary team for all 3 courts. Yeah. Because I do believe that even if they say no, that's fine, but don't not say anything. Don't not consider me. I think meritocracy comes into play in addition to what I just talked to you before, as to the question of are they good at their job or not? Can they do the fucking job or not? To me, I believe in my heart of hearts the answer is absolutely yes. I believe as far as you go, the answer is absolutely yes. And if there was ever a situation where on a stage as big as that for beach volleyball, where you and I got to do it together, I could go out and die. I could go out and die. We did that for one weekend. Monday morning, I could just jump off somewhere and die. And
we'll do a qualifier court. I'd be totally happy.
Yeah. Why not? Why not do that either? Who was streaming the qualifier, right? It was Renee Marcellus.
Yeah.
And Renee Marcellus allowed me to take her file, drag it to this device right here, which I'm going to show you. And when she allowed me to drag this file onto this thing right here, this is called the Atomos Ninja Flame. You drag the file on this, and it can upconvert the live stream to 4K, 1080p, or down whatever, depending your bandwidth. When she allowed me to do that, I stuck a scoreboard on it, and we had a live stream. I typed in AVP qualies. I typed in the names of the people, and we live streamed the qualifiers.
That's awesome.
She was there basically to squirt the balls. God, that came out wrong.
Squirt the balls.
What do you call that? Sanitize the balls. Which, by the way, the new balls are great for that. Aren't they really good for that?
There you go. I love that distractionary technique.
Yes,
nice try,
dude. What the hell is wrong? This is why people say no, right? Because I can't control myself. Rob, you can come, but definitely leave that Jason guy behind.
Zamunda. That's the one I'm still stuck on.
All right, so here's what the scoreboard looks like. See that? So this, I can control the scoreboard by remote control on my phone, or you could swipe on the screen.
Wow.
So when someone wins a set, look on the lower right, this person's up. So that's the scoreboard I use for the qualifier. And when you consider who is in the qualifier, you had Ricardo, right? You had David Lee, you had Reed Pretty, you had, Chrissy Jones, who I hope people continue to talk about. You get her on your podcast. I'm trying to reach out to her, but if she says no to me and yes to you, that's a win. Because I want people. she deserves her shine. But anyway, the cool thing about this 3-week or whatever is there were Olympic gold medalists in the qualifier.
Yep.
There were people in the Olympics in the qualifier. There were multiple time FIVB and AVP champions in the qualifier. It was awesome. It was awesome. Great job, Jeff. Great job, Donald's son. I think he does listen. I think that's how people get in trouble. They say shit on my podcast. You're banned. You're banned. You know. So,
hey, well, I got to ask you an AVP question though, and it's kind of like it's not a super hot topic, but I know it's one that's being discussed out there. Who does Sara Hughes play with? And you're into the beach game. You're connected to the players. Like, I have no idea personally, and you know my
Fallon
connection.
for number one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Who says she has to play with a big name to win? It's about chemistry. Look, you got Alex and April. There's a huge separation between everybody else. You got two jacked girls. Two jacked girls is Kelly Kalinsky and Stockman. I nicknamed them. Oh my God, she's jacked. Two jacked girls. Okay. Betsy's having a baby. She ain't gonna be around for a while. Emily Day's an available option, but don't just go South Bay for its own sake. Don't go, skinny tall girl outside and you're right side. Fallon Fonoimowana, her set location is amazing. Her bump set location is amazing. Her ability to option is amazing. Her gas tank is amazing. Her ability to start high and stay high is not human, because for every 4 points you get emotionally high, you're going to give up 8 on the low if you're not careful. So you rarely run into people who start high and stay high the whole time, because they don't exist. And if they do, me and you, we need to catch them and take them to the lab and examine them, because those are unicorns. But I'll give you another answer later. But since you asked me on the spot,
well, I was just curious because that's been kind of the buzz chat.
What partner, if they serve to her, they'll make. If she plays with Sara and you serve Fallon, you're gonna pay. If you serve Sara, Fallon's bump set is immaculate. Everyone's like, oh, hands this, hands that. The best setters still on the beach are still the bump setters. Ricardo, all right, Ali San. These guys are bump setters. John Hayden, I mean, and then you make the leap to those elite setters like Rafa Rodriguez, and on a lower scale, with respect, I'm not trying to insult the lower, higher, the redhead cat. Who's the redhead cat? That was the NVL guy? Skyler.
Oh, yeah.
Skyler, his hands are just ridiculous. But for the women's game, where there's only a handful of people that use hands anyway, Fallon Fonoimowana beat the brakes off of Betsy and Emily Day before COVID. In the quarterfinals to get to the semifinals in Austin. So she is not there. There's no stage too big. She just needs an upgrade from the other girl that played at UCLA, Martin, that she played with. She played with Alexa Strange. I mean, give a woman of color a good partner. give her Sara Hughes. Watch her set the world on fire. Watch her set the world on fire. That's what would you pick?
Well, that's why I asked you. I'm looking at strategically. I'm like, well, Emily Day makes the most sense. She's available, she's there, and she has success. But I was like, well, I got to think outside the box. Who else would be other options? And that's why I asked you.
Scores. It's game 3. The score is 14 up. Sara Hughes is playing right side. Her left side partner is Emily Day, or her left side partner is Fallon Fonoimowana. I'm gonna take Fallon Fonoimowana. First of all, you're not even thinking about. First of all, Emily Day, sometimes she has these left shoulder things where she does this and she faces here, and sometimes it goes up, and you might catch her a lot out of system for some plays. When she's hot, she gets a lot of points, but when she's not, she gives up a bunch of points. So with Fallon, the difference between her and Fallon is there's no question at 14 up, you're not gonna serve Fallon. There's no question. She could have her leg, her calf could cramp up from dehydration. She's going to take off that leg and beat you to death with it if she has to. So look, for big names, sure, take Emily Day. You're not going to lose with her, and you're definitely going to be in semifinal situations with her. But back to the topic of star power and reputation and who said what about who, notwithstanding all of those things, who gets the job done better in that situation? Fallon Fonoimowana.
See, so one other athlete that came to mind because she's dual citizen is Tina Gradina.
All right, everything I just said about Fallon for number one, we're just going to forget about all of it, all right? Make mine Tina Gradina. Great blocker. I don't care if she's a goofy foot. I think people just, if anyone listening, they just turned us off right now. They're like, dude, in the same breath, you just said nobody's better. No, Tina's awesome.
She has aspirations to be in the AVP and play internationally. So I'm like, well, dual citizenship.
Why the hell not?
But then I guess because we now have the Canadians playing in the AVP tour, right?
Yep.
So that I mean, I think that'd be a great fit. There's some other bigs. Taryn Cloth could come out.
Yep.
But I mean, I don't know how she'd play with Sara. But
Kristen Nuss is the next Misty May. Because that's what everybody was saying about Sara Hughes 5 years ago. Kristen Nuss is the next Misty May. And Tara Cloth, let me tell you something. Kristen Nuss made her a better player. And whether Tara Cloth is caught up and past the entire world, it's because of that. Yeah. Is Tara Cloth the better partner out of the two? Question of fact. But she don't get there without Kristen Nuss. Without a partner, first of all, you don't have to deal with your partner when it comes to her. Second of all, anything that goes up and down is getting dug. That is an immense amount of pressure to have for a team to have to side out or score points when you have a cave troll at the net too. Cave troll, I say affectionately. I know my girl's like, you shouldn't call them cave trolls, and I'm like, that just shows I'm not sexist. All right, I'm gonna call.
She's a cave troll,
right? No, I'm gonna call Alisson a cave troll, right? That just shows I'm not sexist. I'm not gonna, give her a pink petticoat to wear around base. All right, so no, but I like Tina with Sara Hughes. It makes them more dynamic. But I like Fallon because the last 2 years, what she was 2 years ago and what she is now, she's definitely dropped a lot of weight. Though some weight is just gonna stay in certain spots on her body. Yeah, and that's just the way she is. That is a Samoan kadunk. No, but
well, here's the other thing, Jay. With everyone being apart, not really seeing anyone due to COVID. I mean, people's bodies have changed in this almost a year now.
Not Kalinsky and Stockman. Oh, I mean, in a good way.
Like they're leaner, they're more rested, their injuries have healed.
Yes, I mean, all those nagging ones that you play, right? For the people listening, these are elite athletes, just like basketball, just like football. Nobody comes into a tournament or a game 100%, but they just might now. Rob, that's a very good point. They just might now.
I haven't seen anyone, I've only seen headshots, shoulder shots, from social, but I mean, you're down there in the South Bay, you're seeing them practice. I guess I only see the collegiate girls practicing down in Newland and Huntington Beach, but I mean, the pros, they've had some time off. Their bodies are well rested. They're taking care of themselves
before COVID, man. I mean, they're still doing it in COVID. They're just doing it safer. They're on 16th Street, not airing anybody's laundry too much, but they move around to 16th Street to 8th Street. They set up. You know what I'm saying? Anyone that wants to make sure, anyone that's watching is watching from a long damn way off. And I thought, as far as making a poor man's bubble, I thought the AVP players have done a magnificent job with that. Most of them are roommates. They got relationships. I know Eric is with Urenga or Gina. So
Sandy Chirango.
Yeah, but big up to the NBA for finding. Listen, because everybody's like, "Oh, this is real." Oh, and transmission of the virus is about behavior and this and that. Oh, the science this, and science that. And everybody's not wrong about that. But there's facts and there's a reality. Fact, we're in a pandemic, and it's very easy to get it. Reality, we're not going to stay in our house until it's gone completely. That's a reality that's in conflicting forces with the facts. So if that's a reality, how? The NBA made a bubble. All right. 354 players, 0 positive test. This is indoor, 5-on-5 with substitutions. The AVP, they basically poor man quarantined with each other. They're all roommates. They've only practiced with each other. They've only played with each other. They've only had dinner with each other. 0 positive test.
Yep.
Didn't have to spend as much as the NBA. So these are the two examples I use from a rich man's perspective and from the po' boys' perspective. And I hate to associate AVP with poor. I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to say that they found a way to do what the NBA did in a much cheaper way. But it's just about responsibility. Stop going to the damn strip joint, dude.
Yeah. I'd argue that actually AVP did it better, but
they did. They did. Listen, they should have. You're talking about 5-on-5 on 15-person rosters versus 2-on-2, where they wouldn't even allow a lot of the media, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm still media. I'm NY Varsity Sports, and maybe some don't consider me real media, but I thought I should have been there just as much as everybody else. There's nobody. I mean, as far as getting it out there, but no, they did it right. They did. You're right. They did it better. They did it better because they knew I
think they set the standard, though. I mean, the people were watching that, whether you wanted you're in volleyball or not.
Yeah.
Because I know that people that work in venues were watching the Champions Cup series.
Quite ingenious too, right? Quite ingenious to get a film permit. They used the film permit to set it up in the parking lot, Long Beach. It was set up in a parking lot, and they got a film permit. They didn't get they didn't get a player permit for it. They got a film permit. So the volleyball players were technically actors, and that's how they navigated around to make that happen. So, man, I thought you knew. Look how I just catch you quiet. You quiet now? I cannot believe I got the great Rob Espero with something that I knew that he didn't. Oh,
that's man, why I'm open to learning every day.
It took me 2 hours.
Oh, Jay, man, I miss seeing you around, man.
Yep, and I miss you too. And let me tell you something, and that's how we're going to finish, all right? For everybody listening at home, Rob Espero might like you, but I don't. All right? In fact, I can't stand you. In fact, we're out of here, all right? For everybody at home, wait, whoa. How can they reach you? Anyone that wants to know more about Rob Espero, talk to me. What's up?
Instagram, @RobOnTheMic, and Twitter, same thing, same handle.
Rob
Everything's @RobOnTheMic.
My man. All right, for everybody at home.
Viral Volley Podcast, you want to listen in and get some volleyball personalities from the indoor to the beach, from collegiate to the pros. I try to get them all. I may even have some club people on.
Your guest list are just savages, and the only thing I can do is sit there, watch in awe, and for sure just tell all of my contemporaries, hey, this Sara was on last week. Check it out. This guy, Misty May was on with Wex this week. And I think he's finally, for the first time, someone got carry on. I think she's next week or the week after. So, they ain't coming on my show. They scared.
What's funny is I've known Misty since her Newport Harbor days.
Yeah.
And
you'd figure.
Misty, you got to come on. But it just hasn't worked out.
No bullshit. Misty, if you're listening, or if anyone's listening and knows Misty, to say, oh, Jason's talking shit, this and that. Bullshit. This is Rob Espero. Pick up the phone and say yes. Pick up the phone and say yes. This man is not going to sell you out on national TV. He ain't going to ask you no hardball questions. All you got to do is go in and talk about volleyball, talk about where it's going, stuff that you enjoy anyway. Pick up your phone, Misty May, and say yes. If you want to talk to me too, I ain't going to say no about that either. But I'm very, very different. To me, the people that come on my podcast, they do because they want to. Misty, you want to come on this podcast. All right. Maybe not so much mine. All right. So for everybody at home, for all of you people on your iPhones, for all of you people on your iPads and your droids, for all of you people on your desktop, who runs the world? Old school for Rob Savage Espero. This is episode 73 of the Option Podcast. I am Jason DeBillius, and we're out.
We're out from Zamunda.
Come check out the Option Podcast on optionvb.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify, and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.